So this afternoon we've got Seth from Sell Books FBA as part of our Keepa and Used Books series. We're going to have a look at alerts today. So we've had a look at the graph and we've had a look at how to find books on there. And now Seth, although he's based in the UK, you sell predominantly in the US market. So it's something that anybody can get into regardless of where you're based. So hiya, what's this alerts thing we're going to talk about today? Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm sure any Keepa user knows about alerts, but I think it's something that you can go a bit more in depth on and be a bit more intelligent about than maybe the average Amazon seller. So just for people who don't know how to set one, I think it would be good to just show a step-by-step how you do that. So if you've got the Keepa extension installed, you will see the graph here, which we explained in previous videos.
So you need to find the item to set the alert. It goes that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but obviously it's wherever the Keepa graph is, you can set an alert. You can also do it on the Keepa site, but you can do it faster on the Amazon site. So that's usually where I set the alerts. So obviously we've got the graph on the price history here. To set an alert, we'd just go on track product on the second tab here, and you get the option of whether you want to set an alert for when the Amazon price drops below a certain level, whether the new price drops below a certain level, or whether the used price drops below a certain level. And you can also go a little bit more granular by including the shipping costs. So as a used book seller, I will always go more granular because I want to include the shipping costs, because sometimes there'll be a book from Australia, the shipping will be $40. Yeah, and then I'll get an alert thinking I've got a really good deal, and then I'll go through and it's like, oh no, the shipping's really expensive, and then that was a waste of my time. So I'd click the include shipping costs. And another reason I would click that is because you always want to change the price for the used acceptable, because a lot of sellers will sell the used acceptable far lower, and it might be a really poor quality book, and it will say in the description that it's got loads of water damage, and we don't really want to go near books that are in really bad condition.
So you set that to almost not be in the alert. You set that to miss it.
Almost, yeah. So for example, with this book, we can see that the lowest merchant field offers $80, and then the FBA is $86. If we look at the chart, we can see that the average used price over the last 180 days is between $80 and $90. So for me, I want to set this alert for $40, $45, maybe $50. Because I know that's not the point in this video, but how are you getting to that price? How do you pick your price that you're setting the alert to? So this is personal preference, but for me, selling over the last 2.5 years, I found that the perfect price that I like to buy at is 50%, maybe a little bit higher than 50% of the average used good price over the last 90 to 100 days, of which is at the top right of the graph here. So you can see the average 90 days is 93.38.
So you've almost given anyone a formula there. So it's 50% of the average price for 90 days. That
is my formula. It's worked well for me so far. I would probably...
What's the highest you recommend?
I'd go up to 60%, maybe 65 for this particular book, or any book that's got a particularly low sales rank, because then you know A, that it's going to sell, and B, that you're happy to take on the risk of your purchase, because you know that it's going to sell through quickly and you're going to get the benefit from it. Whereas if it's a slow seller, I wouldn't want to be paying $40 thinking that $40 is not going to turn for another, say, 3 to 6 months.
Yep. Just out of interest, how quickly do you try and turn your books?
So I think 80% of my inventory is in the 0 to 90 days.
Wow, I thought used books was a lot slower burn. That's awesome.
It is for a lot of people, but I really try and keep on top of it, and I really try not to buy books that are going to last longer than that unless I can get them for less than $10, really. But that's again preference.
So the average price for this book is for 90 days is 93. So you're looking at about $45, $50. Is that what you're looking?
Yeah. So if we go in there, you could probably sell this book, because textbook season's coming up, for a lot more than double that, so a lot more than $90. But just for the sake of example, we can set these for 45. So you just go in here.
What's warehouse
45.
deal? I've never seen that. What is warehouse deal? Sorry.
So warehouse deals are FBA offers sold by the Amazon warehouse. So they would have been new, but someone at the Amazon warehouse maybe dropped the book, and then they've got to list it as like new or very good.
Okay.
As a side note, they're a bit of a gamble. Sometimes the description will say very good. There's only a little bit of like scuffing on the side, and then you'll get a really terribly conditioned book.
Oh,
So
right.
just forewarning. And then sometimes you can get a used acceptable book that says it's not in good condition, and it'll be like new. So I almost think that they don't vet that, and they kind of just ship you whatever they fancy. But usually they're very, very good deal. They're worth buying. Like before, one example is I bought 20 of one book that was used acceptable for $5 and sold them all for between $40 and $50, like quite quickly.
Awesome.
So it's just, that's the sort of deals that are available sometimes, but they're quite rare as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to snap them up when you see them. So yeah, we would set all these for 45, and then I'd probably put say $20 in the acceptable, maybe even 15.
Okay.
The good thing about this is you can actually see on this little box that's propped up the lowest that this book's ever gone to. So, and the lowest in the last year is 66. So this book, probably wouldn't.
That's hanging over. Sorry, I'm sorry. I've never done any of this. This is all new to me too. So this is over the used acceptable. So that box, is that information used acceptable, or is that information? Yeah.
I think, it is, because then if you hover over the good, it's changed a little bit. Yeah.
That's good. That's really good to know. Okay.
It is quite useful because you've got this on the data. Yeah, you've got this on the data tab. Obviously, it's quicker to look at it here. Mm-hmm. And this definitely makes it easier to set a more intelligent alert, which we'll probably talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all we have to do. You click enter. You have to set your default actually in the settings of how long you want to keep the alert for. I keep my alerts for a year, because you can keep them for 3 years. I think 5 years is the top. And with books, they do, this sort of book will sell for the next few years. I would be quite confident. So it would be worth setting maybe for 3 years.
Yeah, that's a question on a bit of a side note. I want to go off on a bit of a tangent for a second. Are you worried about textbooks becoming like 11th edition, 12th edition? Are you worried about the lifetime of a textbook?
I am not the vast majority of the times, because I let the graph and Keepa and the data do the talking.
Okay.
Certain genres such as law,
yes,
those editions go out of date very quickly. No, medicine, you can get some really old textbooks, but maybe it depends on the subcategory of medicine. So maybe surgery doesn't update as quickly as something. So you need to be
very careful with law. Is there anything else, or is the rest is just kind of...
Law is the only one where prices tank as quickly as they do. Maths and science, for example, I mean, maths, physics in particular, we're still using Einstein's rules, aren't we? Which are nearly over 100 years old. So,
True.
So some books you can... No, it really doesn't change. So you can sell books from the 80s for $100 still. I sell plenty of maths and physics books that are old, over 20 years old. So
I reckon everyone's pressed pause and they've gone and run to their loft to get their old school books out.
Yeah, seriously, because they might actually be kind of vintage or something.
Dust them off. You never know.
But no, new sellers always ask me that, and it's just a case of you really don't need to worry, because also there'll be a new edition and it just might not be as good. So people keep buying the 11th even though there's a 15th out. You've also got to factor in that university, college, they have book lists. These book lists don't necessarily get updated every year. It might be every few years. So you'll have a book on there it's only been not updated because that book list hasn't been updated. And you've got to think these lists get bought by hundreds of students in each school. And bear in mind that how many colleges, universities there are across America, there's loads. So you can be quite confident that there's going to be demand there.
Okay.
Really.
Can this transfer a little bit into the UK market? I mean, obviously there aren't as many unis, etc.
It can.
There's not as many sellers either, is there? Surely it correlates nicely.
It does, because in the UK you still get a textbook season rather than 2 months, you just get 1 month of solid. It's kind of over September and October, mainly September, where it goes really crazy. Whereas in the US, it's January and August where it goes really crazy. But yeah, it will definitely apply, because there's still hundreds of universities across the UK, right? And they've got their own lists. So yeah, it definitely will carry over. What else were we going to say on the alert? So yeah, so that's how to set an alert.
Yep.
In terms of actually, so alerts are kind of the lifeblood of my business, really. You can set 5,000 of these. I've got all 5,000 set.
Yeah, sorry, I've just realised. Did you have to press like a save or something to start?
You just press enter. You just press enter after you've plugged your prices in.
I imagine people setting in like 10 of them and then not pressing enter, and like, it doesn't go in. That's all. Sometimes you have to press save or close or whatever. You just literally enter the alert.
Press enter, and then you'll have this screen here, which will just give you all that info. And yeah, you don't really need that info there, but it just shows you that it's been set. Unfortunately, there's not a fast way of setting them, so I've contacted Keepa and asked if I can bulk upload a load of ASINs. And they told me, yeah, we're going to add that feature in. And then a couple of months later, they told me they're not. So unfortunately, it's quite manual, but you could get a VA to do it for you if you wanted to.
But I think my opinion, and I know we're not in the same sort of way we sell on Amazon, but I'm replenishables. So in my opinion, the harder something is to do, the less people will do it. So the more tenacious you are, the less competition you're going to have and the more rewards you're going to reap, surely.
Yeah. Definitely. And that's the same with Keepa alerts. So when I first started setting them, I would just set a Keepa alert for every single book I found, which isn't actually very sensible at all, because some books, like we saw in that little tick box, some books don't have, maybe a new book or just the fact that it's constantly in high demand, it's never reached below a certain price. So for example, this one, in good condition, the lowest it's ever been in the last, how long has it been around? 18, so like 5 years or whatever. In 5 years, the lowest it's ever gone is $31.
So if you set an alert $25, it would never come up, would it?
So it's a bit of a waste of time. But I've spent lots of time setting alerts, probably with books like this at $25, and they're just sitting there, and that's money. That's money down the drain. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, that's profit missed, because you could be eking out every bit of value from those alerts. Imagine if you had 5,000 alerts of 5,000 different books which no other seller has got an alert for. Maybe it's a bit of a weird book, bit of a rare book. They might not be dropped very often, but when you get one, you are going to profit. So for example, I was telling you before the call, just before this call, I picked up a book sold by a mega seller. Obviously, they didn't know the value of it. I bought it for $7.49. I've sold it before for $120, and I know that I can potentially get more than that depending on where the listing is at. And it's a rare book. It's kind of an antiquarian. It's like 50 years old. It's a title that everyone will know, but it's an old edition, and it's rare. But I've had a couple of alerts for it.
How do you know this stuff? Is that just doing it for like 2.5 years? Because you must have had thousands of books go through your point on Keepa. So yeah, how do you know it's a rare edition or it's
an experience thing. I've actually read this book, so I know that it's kind of a cult classic, famous kind of book. But this is the sort of, you've got to get a bit creative with Keepa alert. So I would probably say, as a general rule, to look for non-textbooks, because everyone's eyes are on the textbooks, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you want to be looking for your Bibles sell really well in the US. So maybe you want to pick a weird rare Bible to set alerts for. I mean, you could go anywhere with this. Pick a subject.
Okay, so this isn't staged. I have no idea. So it may be a good one or a bad one. How about a book about like plants? Because like that must be really, really niche, because A, you've got to be into gardening, B, I can't even pronounce half the names of the flowers in my garden, let alone know what they are. So that would be an example of a niche, really niche book.
Definitely
not a textbook. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, totally. And I've just what popped into my head. There's a book on elk in North America.
Okay.
That goes for a really good price. People can look that up if they want. Stuff like that, like random wildlife, animals. The plants things
So you've
interesting
got to
because I
think,
know
okay, so you've got to think about like real geeky hobbyists then.
yeah, geeky. So like comics, we know comics go for a lot, but there's certain types of comics which go for loads. So you can go down the comic route, you can go down the
Wow.
geeky maybe video game
Okay,
guide
so
route.
I'm going off now because I'm thinking I might have to give this a go at some point just because I love it.
Yeah.
So could I take like one niche like my gardening and just literally focus on that for like I'm quite diligent and quite like I behave when I do things, so I'm quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Disciplined, that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
If I say I'm looking at flower books, I will literally do that for like 3 months and nothing else. Is it good? Because in my replenishable line, it's quite good to be quite structured. Do you want a scattergun or do you want a niche down really?
I wouldn't spend 3 months on it, but I think it's a very good idea to maybe spend a few afternoons.
Oh, is that all it takes?
Focus, manual sourcing is slow, but it can be very lucrative. So as you said, you could start off with plants, and the rabbit hole of Amazon listings is you can go on forever. So you can constantly refine your searches, and you'll definitely find some books that no one else has looked at that you can make money on. And then that could just be one afternoon. The next afternoon could be, your Dungeons and Dragons and whatever.
Wow, so you don't
like
have to, so you don't have to spend a lot of time to really hone down a niche.
Not necessarily, no. I mean,
Wow,
you probably could spend a month on plants, but I would like to spend your time on a few different categories, so then you get a bit more of a flavour for whether one category's got higher price books or better rank or more sellers on it. That's where the experience comes in. So that's why I wouldn't focus too much on one subcategory.
Okay, and what about like manuals for things? Are they good? Like manuals for old
Really good.
cars?
Oh yeah, I was just about to say cars.
This is why I've never sold a book ever, so I'm just thinking.
Cars like aeroplane, like aeroplane engineering, stuff like that. Just anything that I'm trying to think like Volvo and Volkswagen catalogs and stuff.
Yeah.
Motorcycle stuff, people get really geeky about their motorbikes. You can there's loads of potential.
Okay. Right, exciting.
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing for newbies as well. Like this chat should be useful in terms of people who don't want to pay for book sourcing software. They've got something to go on here, because not only are you going to be trying to find books on Amazon to resell, you can then set the Keepa alert while you're doing it. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, right? You're setting yourself up for a future replen, but you're also potentially going to find inventory to buy there.
So once the alert pings and you buy your book, does the alert stay for the remainder of the time you set it up?
Yeah, so for example, when we pressed enter here, it gives you an option for the alert retimer. I've got it set to 1 day.
What does that mean?
That means that if I got an alert on this book, that will reset the next day. So so you can get alerts every day. So this is a replenishable sourcing method, and that's why having 5,000 Keepa alerts keeps me busy and enables me to buy lots of inventory, because I
didn't even think that used books could be replenishable. I'm like the replen queen, right? I love replenishable whole business model. I've not even begun to consider that would be replen, because I actually went to a charity shop, you found one if you were lucky and shoved it in the FBA and hoped.
No, I think the only thing with replens with books is that it's completely random when they will replenish, but they will replenish. For example, that book I was talking about, at some point in the next 6 months, that's going to prop up again, and I'm going to hope to get it again. I might not, but it's the way it is.
Awesome, exciting.
Yeah.
It's genuinely exciting. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you should be in used books a little bit.
I am thinking maybe I'm in the wrong niche.
Well, we've got our challenge, haven't we? So
yes, we have. I'm looking forward to doing that. Once we've finished all the Keepa examples, we're going to team up and we're going to go through the processes that we're showing now with live money and actually sell them in the market and record how well we do. It's going to be exciting.
I've got a feeling you're going to make some money on that.
Hope so.
But I think that's pretty much it on the Keepa alerts.
Okay.
There's plenty more to go into, but I think that's scratched the surface quite nicely and maybe gone.
Okay, so just to recap, because I went off waffling as usual. To recap. So you set the alerts for what, a year, 3 years?
I set them for a year or a year or 3 years. I think a year is adequate, really.
And you set it for 50% of the average 90-day price.
Used good merchant fulfilled price, just because I like to have a
Oh,
cushion
merchant
of
fulfilled.
risk.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't have the FBA price because Amazon doesn't provide that.
Helpful. And you take your acceptable and you do a third of that price for the acceptable because you just want to keep out the really tatty ones.
Yeah, a third's a good position to put yourself in.
Exciting. So would you buy this? So just a quick thing based on this Keepa chart, would you buy this book?
I would love to buy this book. I am restricted in it, but if I bought this book now for $40, I would definitely probably get $150 plus in January.
Wow. I didn't know you could be gated on books. How does that work?
Yeah, so there's a lot of counterfeit textbooks that come in from India. I've bought a couple, but luckily my prep center noticed them and didn't send them in. But there's a big problem with it, and you've got a law firm in Maryland state who buy up lots of listings of FBA sellers to try and catch us out, and that's where a few sellers get banned, and there's a bit of a problem with it at the moment. So Amazon are quite concerned with counterfeit textbooks, but luckily I haven't been caught yet because I don't have any counterfeit books.
So you're based in the UK. So what do you do? So you buy them anywhere. You get them shipped. You buy them on Amazon.com through your Keepa alerts. You ship them directly to the prep center in America, and the prep center have got your back covered and have spotted them, and then they send them out FBA. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what about the UK? How would I spot a counterfeit book in the UK, or is it not that much of an issue?
I don't think it's an issue at all in the UK.
Okay.
For whatever reason, maybe it's just because the scale of the market's not as big.
Yep.
There will be a few titles that you need to watch out for in the UK, which is the same as the US. For example, the DSM-5 is just a prime example that every bookseller knows. I don't know if you've heard of that book. It's like a big.
Heard of it? What is it? What is it?
It's a big like psychology textbook. It sells hundreds a day, and that's an example of a counterfeit textbook. Something that sells really, really fast. You don't really want to go near it because it'll probably be fake.
So you want something that sells maybe a handful a month and just tick along nicely and quietly and
No, you can still go near all the good textboots. It's just there's certain ones like this example. This is so sought after. I think every psychology or I'm trying to think but in the UK you really don't need to worry about it as much. So luckily it's not an issue.
Awesome. Exciting stuff. So that's your Keepa alerts. Thank you very much for letting us into the world of your used books and alerts. What do you know what topic we're doing next time? Have we looked at it already, just to give people an idea?
Potentially a bit more on the Keepa site itself, on the data tab. So for people who like Excel and spreadsheets, it'll be useful.
Yeah. Okay. So hit the subscription button and then you'll know when Seth and I bring out the next one. Until then, thank you so much for being with us today. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.